Good afternoon. My name is Carlos Rodriguez, and I'm a multicultural ambassador here at Grandview. We ask that you please turn your cell phones off at this time, as we're going to start with our program this afternoon. At this time, I would like to introduce Grandview's Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Colin Moses, to do the official Grandview welcome to our program.
Thanks. Yes, I am keeping my fleece vest on. Don't judge me. Welcome. Thanks for being here. It's a great turnout. Glad to have everyone here to hear our speaker. Of course, we're gathering today to remember and honor Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., who's widely recognized as one of the greatest Americans of the 20th century. And while there were many others who made contributions to the civil rights movement, we would be hard-pressed to identify anyone who did more to advance the cause of racial justice and equality. Those of you who are not alive during the 1960s may not fully appreciate how much progress was made in a few short years, even though we all understand that his work, which is now our work, remains unfinished. I can't help but wonder what our society might have accomplished if he had not been assassinated in 1968 at the age of 39. Towards the end of his life, Dr. King had broadened the scope of his attention to include opposition to the Vietnam War, and he had begun to address the injustices of poverty among people of all racial and ethnic backgrounds. At the time of his assassination, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, of which he was the first president, was planning a Poor People's March on Washington, patterned after the March on Washington in 1963, when Dr. King delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. During our Global Vision Week in the fall of 2016, our speaker, Eboo Patel, reminded us of Dr. King's solidarity with persons of all faith traditions. And celebrating Dr. King reminds us of our own goals for Grandview to be a community that welcomes, supports, and upholds the humanity of all, regardless of faith or skin color or national origin or family wealth or any of the other superficial differences on which some would seek to divide us. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a champion of human rights, a champion of peace, and a champion of nonviolent protest. His many awards include the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize. Dr. King's legacy lives with us today, and it is a privilege to honor him.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Claiborne, and I'm also a multicultural ambassador. It is our tradition that the Viking Council President also makes some remarks during our event. So at this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Kendall Ansel, Viking Council President.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commemorative Keynote Address. My name is Kendall Ansel, and I serve as the Viking Council Student Body President of Grandview University. Before we proceed with this afternoon's keynote address, I'd like to take a moment here and recognize the Diversity Alliance Student Leadership Team, the Viking Volunteers Organization, the Office of Multicultural and Community Outreach, as well as all university administration, faculty, and staff, all those whose hard work has made this week of service possible. In addition, on behalf of the student body at Grandview University, it is my honor to welcome to campus today's commemorative keynote speaker, Dr. Eddie Moore, Jr. I stand here today humbled by the opportunity to speak on behalf and commemorate Dr. King and his legacy. Dr. King was a man who led by example and provided others and all those around him with the strength to stand up for what it is they believed in. Dr. King was a man who led by example. It is today that we as a nation celebrate the life and legacy of a man who instilled hope in so many Americans. It is today that we as a nation recognize the courage of a man who endured harassment and threats. It is today that we as a nation identify the power of unconditional love, forgiveness, and reconciliation, all as ways to combat injustice. As a student leader on campus, I've always been accustomed to the following quote by Dr. King. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? After hearing this quote, I feel a sense of pride and desire to set out and to fulfill my life's vocation, a personal commitment to serve humanity. Here in a couple moments, each of you will have the honor to hear Dr. Moore speak. who has indeed set out on his own personal commitment to serve humanity. Dr. Moore has pursued and achieved success in many endeavors. He received his PhD from the University of Iowa in Social Foundations Education. In 1996, he started MLK and More LLC to provide comprehensive diversity, privilege, leadership, and training workshops. Dr. Moore is also the founder and program director for the White Privilege Conference. Under Dr. Moore's leadership, the White Privilege Conference has become one of the top national and international conferences for participants who want to move beyond dialogue and into action around issues of diversity, power, privilege, and leadership. Dr. Moore is recognized as one of the nation's top motivational speakers for his work with students K through 16. On behalf of the Viking Council, it's my profound honor to sponsor this afternoon's commemorative keynote address as well as the week of service. As a student government, we take great pride in sponsoring events that ultimately empower students to pursue their vocation, as well as any opportunity that enhances passion and instills a sense of community. Service comes in multiple forms, and as a student government, we believe it is partially our responsibility to position students for both current and long-term success. In closing, I encourage each student here today to make a pledge. Commit yourself to serve humanity with unconditional love, forgiveness, and reconciliation. Help fulfill Dr. King's legacy. Dr. Moore, it is truly an honor to have you here with us today, and on behalf of the student body, welcome to Grandview University.
Hello, my name is Norma Tehran. I'm a multicultural ambassador. Grandview's Pastor Russell Lackey will lead us in a moment of meditation. Pastor Russ.
I invite you to pray with me. Holy and gracious God, we've gathered here to honor you by remembering your servant Martin. His message, witness, and work in fighting against oppression was really your message, witness, and work. Martin taught us that the measure of a person is not where they stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where they stand at times of challenge and controversy. Oh Lord, we are standing in such a moment. We ask that you would bless our speaker, Eddie, this afternoon. Anoint his words so that our hearts would be inspired and our souls convicted to stand up for truth, to stand against falsehood, and to stand with those who are oppressed. To you be the glory, now and forever. Amen.
Good afternoon. My name is David Calderon, and I'll be introducing our 2018 MLK Junior Keynote Speaker, Dr. Eddie Moore, Jr. Dr. Moore has pursued and achieved success in academia, business, diversity, leadership, and community service. In 1996, he started MLK and More LLC to provide comprehensive diversity, privilege, and leadership training workshops. Dr. Moore is recognized as one of the nation's top motivational speakers and educators, especially for his work with students K through 12 and college. Dr. Moore is the founder and program director for the White Privilege Conference and the nonprofit organization, the Privilege Institute. Under the direction of Dr. Moore and his inclusive relationship model, the WPC has become one of the top national and international conferences for participants who want to move beyond dialogues and into action around issues of diversity, power, privilege, and leadership. Dr. Moore's interview with the Wisconsin Public Radio won the 2015 Wisconsin Broadcasters Association's Best Interview in Medium Market Radio. He's featured in the film I'm Not a Racist, Am I? In 2014, Dr. Moore founded the Privilege Institute, which engages people in research, education, and action through workshops, conferences, publications, and strategic partnerships and relationships. Dr. Moore is the co-founder of the online journal Understanding and Dismantling Privilege and the co-editor of two best-selling books, Everyday White People Confront Racial and Social Injustice, 15 Stories, and the Guide for White Women Who Teach Black Boys. So with us, Dr. Eddie Moore.
All right. What a weekend to be a Viking, huh? Oh, sorry, maybe I got the wrong state here. My bad. What up, Vikings? Listen, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Brother Moses, really quick snip into the history of MLK. I mean, it's always interesting this time of year, and I'm always wondering, like, why are people here? Right? Like, what is people's spirit around MLK? I feel like I'm reaching the age now where I don't even know if young people know who MLK is outside of the commercial reproduction. So just even hearing your quick overview was helpful because I'm sometimes a little emotional during this time. And then to see Brother Kendall come up, you know, love young people leadership anyway, being able to meet all the young folks, helping out, introducing and participating. But I'll be honest with you, it's nice to see a white dude. I mean, I lived in Brooklyn, so I don't know. You got to ask in Brooklyn, you're never sure, but at least appearing as white. I'm just saying it's nice to see a white dude up there taking on the work. I mean, honestly, because that's just not in every place that we go. And so just seeing young folks taking on, being front and forward, introducing, taking the mic, yeah, it's helping me during this emotional time. It's good to be back in Iowa. I'm not from Iowa, but I like to say I'm part Iowan. I spent 16 years of my life in the great state of Iowa. In fact, who I am today, I owe a great deal to the great state of Iowa. I mean, I know Iowa's got a lot of problems around these issues of diversity, around the work that MLK talked about, and there's been some progress and some work and all that kind of stuff. But this is one black man you're looking at today that loves Iowa. I mean, Iowa saved my life. I mean, it really did. It gave me a second opportunity coming from a tough environment that I grew up in Florida. I had a high school basketball coach who was from Grundy Center, Iowa, small town Iowa. He went to Cornell College in Iowa. And at the time I was growing up, I had 3 older brothers who went to prison. I had a sister, older sister, that was kind of flirting with trouble. So I was the youngest of 5. And my mama, she was trying to save the baby. I mean, she was just desperate, to be honest with you. I mean, she would have sent me to Pluto when it was a planet at that time. I mean, that's how desperate she was to get me out of that space and place. And so her and my coach worked together to get me as far away from home as possible. And I landed from my all-black town in Florida to Mount Vernon, Iowa. I mean, I jokingly tell people, I never thought there were so many white folks in America till I got to Iowa. I mean, some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, we had sightings of white people in my neighborhood. It's not like I'd never seen a white person. But before I got to Iowa, I was like, oh my God, they are everywhere, right? I mean, there was nowhere to hide, because at home, if I didn't want to deal with white folks, I could totally segregate away, totally separate away. But when I got to Mount Vernon, I mean, there was nowhere to hide. And Iowa really, got me on the trajectory of the life's work that I'm doing today. So not only did this state save my life, I mean, it gave me my life's work. And so I'm always, always appreciative of the opportunity to come back to Iowa, particularly doing the work around MLK. And this talk, I designed this talk specifically thinking and asking myself during this time, I mean, why keep dreaming? When you hear that, I just want you to think about, like, what is the moment? What is it about? What are people talking about when they're even celebrating this day? I mean, why are people here? I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like sometimes people get an easy pass on this day. And I'm wondering, like, why keep dreaming? What is that, just a fancy slogan? Or are people really meaning business about the state of the world that we're living in today, in the world that's to come? So I'm hoping when you hear this, that it'll stay with you. Why keep dreaming? And this came from, I mean, I listened to MLK all the month of January through February, mixing in some Malcolm X as well, just kind of listen to their oratorical skill set, but also just what was in the moment of that time. You know, just kind of remembering that, not taking lightly that as a black man wearing this suit today here in front of you, I mean, some folks died so this could happen. I don't want to lose sight of that. So when you're listening, when I'm grappling, when I'm thinking, when I'm wrestling with all of the stuff that's going on through those speeches, I mean, this is where this question came from. And more questions. I mean, like, why did the dream come to Dr. King? Like, why him? I mean, have we moved from dream to action? I mean, are we making progress? I mean, what's the measurement? Why keep dreaming? That's what I ask y'all to ring out in your mind through the day, through the year. Why keep dreaming? But first, let me just give a big thank you. Brother President's here. It's good to see you. I just came from Johnston. They told me to give you a big shout out because your kids went to Johnston. So here's my shout out to you, my brother. Brother Alex, I mean, for a long time in my consulting career, I mean, not everybody was inviting a black guy talking about white privilege to their campus. And that brother was supporting me back in those days. So I just want you to know I appreciate that, man. I really do. I really do. Dr. King once said, he heard somebody say, when people clap before you speak, that's faith. If they clap during your speech, that's hope. And if they clap after your speech, that's love. Now, I'm hoping I'll earn all three, but I just appreciate y'all showing a brother a little faith in the beginning by welcoming me to the stage. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I don't take it lightly that you had options for MLK. People all the time have options, and to be selected for this day, I do appreciate that. I also give a big thanks to people who we see or don't see that often go into putting these kinds of events on. And again, just a special thanks to Alex and also to the student leaders for all the work that it takes, because a lot of people don't know programming and programmatically. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that goes into that. So I appreciate the support, the encouragement, the courage, and I hope you keep it going. I hope you keep it going. So much on my mind during MLK time. Have y'all listened to the speech today? This is my premise. This is what I'm teaching my 7-year-old. You should spend one day of your life, one day a year of your life, 16 minutes and 42 seconds. That's it. So if you haven't, I would really encourage you to do that uninterrupted. I think we minimally owe that to the history of that time. Because those 16 minutes, 42 seconds for me remind me that me standing here doing what I'm doing and the work that I'm doing, the things I've accomplished, all of that did not come without sacrifice. And so, in the words of Big Sean, I mean, sacrifices. I mean, a lot of folks have made them so that y'all could be here. We could be here. And I think for a society, you should spend 16 minutes, 42 seconds. That's what I'm saying to you if you haven't already. Minimally, we should be doing that. And I've been doing that, every day since the 1st of January and reflecting on just the overall civil rights movement. Just civil rights legislation. They had to pass laws so we could eat together. That just seems, maybe, I don't know. Laws so we could go to bathrooms together. I've just been thinking about what that must have been like. And even Dr. King's work, because, he was often pushing and challenging America and this whole premise of the American dream. It's not this often sanitized version that we get when people are understanding the work that this brother died for, and many others. So I just got a lot on my mind, MLK time. And y'all got cable? I've been watching the news. I don't know, maybe that's not healthy, but I've been watching the news and I've been paying attention to this Time's Up campaign. I just wonder, the devastation that mad men made and did and committed at work over our country's history. That we're now in 2018 coming to realization of that, to that. We just saw a recent situation. I mean, I had to reread the article. Like, Marky Mark got 100,000, was it? Was it a million? Y'all see this story? Like, he got 100,000 for the replay. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And the woman actress got 1,000. 2018. I mean, these cats have been wreaking havoc on the workplace. Mad men. It's not just a TV show. And we need to give some real acknowledgement to women of color, women in our country's history. I mean, really. We cannot forget them in this conversation. Sometimes them watching their daughters suffer this abuse and having no voice. So I'm happy that we're having folks stand up and say, time's up. But let's not forget that folks historically have been suffering and enduring this, and nobody was listening to their voice. We're watching live on TV white supremacy, white supremacist groups get reinvigorated, re-inspired. I mean, right before our eyes. I mean, we are seeing immigration policy or comments around immigration. The politics of build the wall. I mean, high school kids yelling this at sporting events. I mean, families experiencing ICE showing up at the workplace. I mean, amazing. I mean, this is the time we're living in. Lots on my mind during the MLK time. Oh, let's not forget these monuments. Like, some of us are against them. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I just can't lose sight that people are actually arguing still today that white supremacists deserve public presentation. Man. All this time, all this stuff on my mind, I'm thinking, well, why keep dreaming? Are we living in accepting, progressing times? Are we post-racial? Is this the America that MLK envisioned? Progress, right? Y'all probably don't remember the Ghetto Boys back in the day. Old school hip hoppers. Did that rap song, My Mind Playing Tricks on Me. That's what I feel like sometimes. I feel like progress in one scene and then, man, wow. So in addition to my mental state, I'm also an emotional wreck. I mentioned that already. I just shared y'all a little bit what's going through the mind of a mad consultant during this time. But let me just tell you, emotionally, I'm a wreck too. Three things. One, I mean, I can't deny. Look at me. I'm a brother. I got a suit on, shoes cleaned up, socks fancy, nails done, hair done, everything did. You know what I'm saying? Brother, profiling, you know what I'm saying? So I just have to admit, I'm excited to be alive today, healthy today, free today. Because in 2018, as a black man in America, that's not always given. In fact, statistically speaking, I am beating the odds. I'm an anomaly, a black man with a PhD, a crack cocaine survivor. Working on this book that we just did on white women teaching black boys, seeing all the statistics associated with that, I mean, really, just feeling too blessed for stress. I mean, I got a lot of good stuff going on. So emotionally, one of the things I'm feeling is just some absolute appreciation for life. Secondly, though, I'm a little frustrated because I feel like the economic and social realities of segregation and white supremacy, for me, are still alive today. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that's just how I'm feeling. That during the time that Dr. King and others were fighting, that mentality in 2018 is still alive today. Despite the new tax cuts, record-setting stock market, Walmart even raised their wages to $11. We got folks still saying post-Obama, post-racial, blah, blah, blah. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just a little cynical. I don't know, y'all. Y'all can judge me, diagnose me a little later. I don't know. But statistically, even though I'm feeling too blessed for stress, statistically, when you look at the lives of everyday people, life indicator statistics, they are showing the gaps are wider, or wider, depending on how you look at them. And they're widening, or whitening, depending on where you live. The education gaps, wider. Employment gaps, wider. Healthcare gaps, wider. Income gaps, incarceration gaps, home ownership gaps, technology gaps, wealth gaps. Y'all remember this old saying, the rich are getting, the poor are getting? I mean, I don't think people quite understand what that looks like. Because sometimes when we're in the college environment, higher ed environment, or in the income bracket where I live, in the house I live, in the place where I live in Green Bay, I mean, you could lose sight of some real everyday realities of what's going on in this society. And I'm not saying that we should be, down and criticizing all the time. I'm just saying in the spirit of MLK, right? In the spirit of MLK, I know they paint it like a dessert every day when you see it on TV. I know on TV he looks like dessert. I know that. But I think it's important for us to understand, particularly young people to understand, that when this brother was out there giving the speeches he was giving, I mean, folks were not happy. It wasn't good news that he was reporting. And in some cases, we're just realizing the work he did around the Poor People's Campaign. Some people don't even know that. Or his stance against the war. I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream. That's what I'm asking us to think about. I'm asking you to think about. I'm asking young people, particularly future leaders, to think about why keep dreaming. So sometimes I'm a little appreciative, happy to be alive. Sometimes I'm a little frustrated because the everyday statistics continue to show widening gaps. And some days I'm just outright pissed off. I'm just mad. Some days I'm just mad. I mean, I don't know. If you can't just look at some of the stuff that's going down and what people are going through, and some days just not get mad. I don't know. I look at the emotional and psychological impact of segregation and white supremacy today. I think it's not only strong, it may even be stronger. I mean, some people are arguing that when you look at even some of the biggest metropolitan cities, I mean, New York City as an example, even though it's got all these beacons of social justice and acceptance, I mean, when you drill down into statistics, it looks like 1960. Now, maybe here in the metropolitan Des Moines area, I don't know. Maybe y'all have turned it around here in the great state of Iowa. But I live in Wisconsin. And when you look at the statistics of black people, black folks specifically, what I represent, what I'm a part of, but people of color in general, man, if you're not mad at those statistics, come on. Let me ask you this way. In 2018, you ever meet people who still think like it's 1918? I mean, all this progress, 2018. You ever meet people and you wonder, like, how did you get into the general population still thinking this way? That's the kind of stuff that makes me mad. One thing I've learned doing this work, though, working with those folks especially, there's some pancakes you'll never flip over. I mean, some folks just gonna stay limited, narrow. Why keep dreaming? So I got all this stuff in my mind, all these emotions in my spirit, in my heart. I just want to be clear. I'm not here to blame white folks, say white people bad, shame white folks, that kind of stuff. I'm not here to convert you or convince you to think like I think, feel like I feel. I'm simply here to ask you, why keep dreaming? What's the purpose? Why are we here? The more I reflect on some of King's, the more I reflect on some of America's darkest days during King's heyday, I realize and I come to grips with the fact that Dr. King and others face some enormous challenges associated with just making this society a better place in the throes of white supremacy. Now, those days weren't bad for everybody. All right? I think it's important to point that out. I mean, a significant number of white folks enjoyed and continue to enjoy, I say, white-only services, opportunities, and privileges. Many of these services were built and sustained on a foundation of white male supremacy and white cultural dominance. That's what Dr. King was fighting against. Back then and today, it's important to remember, you don't have to support the policy to benefit from the policy. Many of these opportunities, these privileges, let me ask y'all a question. Let me rephrase that statement. Do many of these opportunities and privileges still exist today? Economically? Emotionally? I mean, what's it like to be white? I don't know if y'all get this living in Iowa. I used to always get this when I was rolling around in Iowa. Pella, I lived in Pella for a little while. Folks be like, what's it like for a black guy there in Pella? And I didn't have any problem answering that question. I used to tell kids all the time when I go to the schools in Pella, I'd be like, hey, every black guy you meet is going to be just like Dr. Moore. Huh? But I sometimes wonder, like, what's it like during this time to be white? Are there any perks or benefits? I just think we need to be having this conversation because the benefits of white supremacy are not just economic. It could also be emotional, psychological. Can we stop white supremacy? This is what the mad doctor, diversity, genius, I should say, mad genius, like little Sheldon, you know what I'm saying? This is what the great Dr. Diversity is contemplating. In the question, why keep dreaming? Now, on the other hand of those privileges that white folks were experiencing during that time, then there's what folks of color, particularly black folks, were experiencing. And they were denied many perks, not only the special ones, I'm just talking about like basic human treatment. I mean, even young people were beaten, brutalized, sometimes lynched and killed during these times. They suffered what many psychologists talk about today, internalized psychological inferiority. Generation after generation after generation. This is what Dr. Joy DeGruy calls post-traumatic slave syndrome. To be consistently and violently denied basic education, employment, housing, legal, health care, to sit in a bus, to eat in a restaurant, to just exercise your citizenry or vote. Some of them were treated less than people treated their animals. Seriously, I want to just smack somebody up. Maybe I shouldn't be so. I just sometimes want to just, whenever I hear people say, can't we get back to those good old, or make, I mean, that's just me emotionally. It's just hard to grasp when I hear people referring to getting back to that time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to be bashing any political or any individual. I'm just saying for me, when I hear that, that's what resonates for me. And I'm wondering, why keep dreaming? What is this all about? 50 plus years or so after MLK. What are we really even saying? Why are we really even here? What are we really trying to do? Is this just an exercise of stuff we do to kind of check off a diversity point, or are we really committed to trying to do some things? What's amazing to me, Dr. King, even in the most horrendous times of all this violence, there was this love, this remarkable love for humanity. That is just an amazing feat for me, that somebody could spit in your face on the bus and you offer them a hug. I don't know if this brother could have rolled at that time. I don't know, y'all. I mean, I just wonder what those trainings must have been like. And they just say, hey, Brother Russ, they're going to spit on you, throw stuff on you, talk about your mom, your dad. I don't know, bro. Pastor, I like to think I could be there. Whew. I mean, just to be able to present love as your platform during that time. That's an amazing thing. Dr. King challenged America with more than a dream, I think. It was a call, love is a call to action. How do we turn the dream to action? I mean, just listen to this short piece. I mean, y'all got some homework to do, 16 minutes, 42 seconds. Let me just give you like 5 seconds. All right, this is what he said, like, you cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? He goes on to say, we will not be satisfied until justice rolled down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Yeah. Somebody in there, they got their homework in this morning early. Dr. King was challenging America and Americans to, in the words of Bob Marley, get up, stand up. On a foundation of love. I think he wanted them, maybe us, perhaps, to take action. Stop talking about dreaming and start doing something. As they say where I'm from, don't talk about it. Be about it. I'm sick of people saying, I have a dream. Show me some shit. That's what I'm talking about. (2018), y'all. We got some improved legislation, all that stuff. We got affirmative action. I mean, we got black folks in power or experiencing power, higher education, higher paying jobs, improved social living. I mean, I can't deny that there hasn't been progress. And anytime I do, somebody says, Obama. Anytime I ask people to spell progress, it's like O-B-A-M-A now. They've redefined how you spell progress. But I ask you, even with Obama, I mean, are we there yet? Are we? Are you there? Are you where you should be based on the horrendous, segregated, white supremacist society in which our parents and grandparents, great-grandparents sprang out of? Are we the products, finished products, that we should be learning from that? Feels like, to me, sometimes I can't tell the difference between 1968 and 2018 when you go in a social space at a public university or a private university where people are just hanging out, you walk in there, it looks like 1968. What's up, GVU? Y'all there? Have you turned a dream to action? What do you think Dr. King would say if he was doing an assessment of the university? If he was doing an assessment of our city, of your city, of the state, of the nation? How would Dr. King answer that question? We making progress? Is the movement even moving today? Is the dream into action? Oh, you want to know what I think? Oh, what I think Dr. King would say? I'm glad you asked. I really am. In my closing, let me just say this. I don't have a clue, y'all, to be honest with you. I mean, I really don't. I think, I remember 80-ish is where Dr. King would be in age at this time. I do wonder what the world would be like. I do wonder. But to be honest with you, I don't know. In fact, I stopped doing that. I stopped asking what's blah, blah, blah things. What's blah, blah, blah. I stopped turning to reality or alternative reality TV, wondering what blah, 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 what blah, blah, blah. I learned this with the N-word, doing workshops around the N-word, and they're turning to movie stars and sports stars. And, I mean, there's just a whole different world they're living in. And, of course, I feel some of the perspective they're offering is not touching everyday people in everyday society. So I've stopped turning to my role models like Paul Robeson or Barbara Jordan or Shirley Chisholm or Thurgood Marshall or Fannie Lou Hamer and all those kinds of folks and wondering, hey, what would they think? How would they feel about this time? And I think you'll probably see some of that in the pundits today as you see stories rolling. People asking people, well, what do you think Dr. King would think of the society? What do you think Dr. King would think of the president? I don't know. Y'all. I'll share with you what I think. I'll be happy to do that in closing. I'll give you my assessment, my evaluation. And I'm lucky I don't even have to ask you if you'd like to hear it because I'm kind of here for that. So I don't know how you feel at this moment. So in closing, let me give you just some of my thoughts quickly about how I'm feeling, how far we've come. So I think we can admit to the fact that America's changing. The world is changing. That's what I feel like we see happening. I just came from, as I mentioned, Johnston schools, where just in the last 3 years, you're just seeing a tremendous transformation of student population and challenges and issues associated with that. And not all bad, just saying when you have a new influx, I mean, it presents opportunities as well as challenges. And I think we can say that for the state of Iowa. I mean, Des Moines, I think this city, this region, this corridor, just in the last 20 years has changed tremendously and just continuing to evolve. I mean, you're hearing people speak of Des Moines as a city. That wasn't always the case. Maybe insurance, but it's a long ways from there now. I mean, you look at this place. I'm like, this is a campus. I remember a building. I mean, America's changing. The world is changing. And we now know that the work of diversity and inclusion and cultural competence is a real part of how organizations are going to be experiencing success. I always say to people, the world is changing. America is changing. The question is, are we ready? I like to say integration without preparation does not work. And I think we as a nation, I feel like we as a nation, but I'm speaking to y'all right here. I'm asking you, I'm just challenging you. I think we as individuals right here in this room, we can do a better job around issues of diversity. We must do a better job talking about diversity, but most importantly, living diversity. I feel like people got a really good handle of talking about it. But I'm not quite sure I'm convinced that their actions reflect it. Because the research is showing, statistics are showing, even though we're spouting this commitment to diversity and inclusion, that many of us are still living Jim Crow lives. That's what the research is showing. I think we got to do a better job. Not talking the talk, but walking the walk. Just general diversity stuff. Secondly, I think we all got work to do. I used to think white people, if y'all could just come together right now, right? I was like, white people need to do diversity work. But what I've learned when you look deep into this work and really look at the challenges associated with the work, everybody's got work to do. We all got work to do. And I just challenge you to do your work. And I know for me, I say it this way for me, I learned my most hate in my most innocent state. And I had people in my life that took my innocence and corrupted it in a really ugly way, a nasty, particularly towards groups of people. And I have to make a lifetime commitment to love. It's just not enough to say it for me, because I had my love disrupted. And so that's how I look at it for myself. I think about Capital One. Think about it this way. You don't get to tell me you appreciate diversity. I just want to know what's in your wallet. What's in your diversity wallet, your love wallet, right? Give me some examples. And listening to Tina Turner or Drake or Cardi B, that doesn't count. Traveling to places, that doesn't count. Some of y'all being claimed as people's best friend, and they don't even know how to pronounce your full name. That don't count. Action. I want to see some real, substantive, concrete evidence that you're committed to diversity. What's in your wallet? Give me some examples of what you're doing. Now, this can be one example, but this is not enough. One black guy for 45 minutes on MLK, that's almost a half a point. So if you got to get 400 points over the year, how are you going to do that? Just thinking about ways in which you're demonstrating a concrete evidence that you're committed. Thirdly, power, privilege matters. That when you have access to this kind of education, this kind of institution, and you get to go on to life after this experience, I think you are in need of being committed in a way that's at a different level for your friends and the people in your neighborhood who you know could do the work to be here, but sometimes don't have the resources to do so. I think that when you get access to power and privilege, you should be doing some good stuff with it. When I'm talking to people about power and privilege, I'm not here to blame people for that. I'm not here to shame people. I'm not here to say you should feel bad for having privilege. I'm just asking you, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? And I think not everybody has the kind of opportunities and access that many of you are having right here in this room, especially at this fine university. Power, privilege, and leadership matter. We got to go beyond, can we all just get along? Diversity, kumbaya. I think that's an important start. But there's got to be much, much more on the table, on the horizon, that you expect out of yourself. I say we got to continue to examine the impact and influence of white supremacy, white cultural dominance, upon the structures that we operate in day to day, every day. That we can't just be satisfied with diversity. Two more. I learned this lesson on an airplane in Des Moines. I was getting on the airplane. This is in my first days of consulting when I was able to start getting airline tickets as part of my consulting fee. That was a monumental moment. So I can remember getting on the plane. I'm getting seated. I can see my seat, and right behind me, maybe 3 or 4 seats, there's a white guy. He's about 25, 30 maybe, and he's got a son, or maybe it was a daughter. He's got a kid with him. Maybe the kid is 6, 7, 8, and I can hear the kid turn to the dad and say, "Hey, Dad, look, there's a black guy." And what do you think the dad did? Yeah, he's like, right. Yeah. I learned this lesson in Iowa. The best friend that hate has is silence. I never met a quiet jerk in my life. Usually they're small in numbers, but they're big in voice. The people that really frustrate me in the 21st century are good people with good hearts who say nothing. We need to have a voice revolution, so to speak. Folks who are good-hearted will no longer sit around when you see racist, sexist, homophobic folks voicing their opinion. I understand how we sometimes get conditioned at early age. That's what I was witnessing with that young kid. It's not that the dad was a white supremacist saying, "Hi Hitler, long live the Klan." That's not what the dad was saying. All right, it wasn't a promotion of white supremacy. You with me? But that message for that kid, when he sees another black person, what do you think he's gonna do? I mean, some people, they can't even say black. Like, what color's the mic? Well, it's dark gray. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can't even, right? Like, it's just amazing how we're still paralyzed around some of this subject matter when it comes to race. And I'm saying that we can't sit in silence no more. We are horrific at having conversations when we disagree or when things go down, and I think it's partly due to the fact that we don't do a lot of practicing around that. And I think in the 21st century, as we move forward, voice is needed. And so if you're a good person with a good heart, I'm challenging you in 2018 to make a commitment that when you see a joke, a comment, or when you hear a joke or comment, see something racist, sexist, homophobic, that you say something. It's not that you're going to change that person. Remember, there's some pancakes you'll never flip over. I mean, there's some folks in my family that I know they are committed to this for life. I know that. So I'm not necessarily trying to flip them over, change them, but I am letting them know, unlike I got to see often, somebody is in disagreement with that. So that if my niece or nephew is watching, they're not only hearing the racist, sexist, homophobic statement, now they're seeing somebody say, no, that's not cool. No, that's not right. No. No, you ain't got to believe that. Voice is important. The best friend that hate has is silence. All right. Last but not least, y'all. Y'all may find this hard to believe, but often people say, I like this guy. He's articulate, he's well-dressed, but sometimes Dr. Moore comes on a little strong. He's maybe a little pessimistic for me. That's what I sometimes get mischaracterized at. And I got a few friends in here. I think they can use a few choice words to describe me, but I doubt pessimistic is one of them. Because I'm a crack survivor. I got a second chance at life. I mean, it's hard to get this black man down. You know what I'm saying, Rev? Like, I mean, it's just hard. It's just hard. Like, I done been there. It's just hard to get me down. So I'm not pessimistic at all, but I'm not optimistic. So my final thing is my new word that I create. I'm a hip hop kid, so I get to create words when I need to help explain myself. So I created a new word. I'm not optimistic. I'm not pessimistic. I'm what I call pistomistic. This is what my challenge is for you for lastly, is that you be a little more pistomistic, which means if you're committed to I have a dream, if you believe that we can still keep dreaming, I'm cool with that. Just show me some action. I think it's a real privilege to be optimistic and you're not doing, you ain't doing jack. That's a real privilege. What I'm asking us in closing is that you show some proof that I'm okay with being optimistic, but let's show some evidence of action. I think that's where we are. That's where I feel that we are today. So my time is short because I know the president is here and wants to do some of the closing, and we've been scheduled to end at 2, so I always like to take pride in staying on time. I appreciate y'all just being willing to grapple with this reflection. I ask you to keep these 3 words in your mind. Why? Keep dreaming. And as those words resonate, you think about, most importantly, your wallet. Not your money wallet, but your social justice wallet, your MLK wallet. Because if you hear, for me, it seems like you're saying, I'm down with MLK. So how strong is your love? How strong is your commitment to justice? How open to you are to blah, blah, blah. What's in your wallet? Thank you very much, Grandview University. I appreciate y'all. Peace, love, soul. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. You help do what we're supposed to do at Grandview, which is to stretch people's minds, challenge them, push them out of their comfort zone. Thank you. Appreciate that message. I must tell you that I didn't do my homework today, but I will admit that before the holidays, or last fall, there was an occasion that caused me not to listen to, but I actually looked up and read the text. Indeed, Dr. Martin Luther King can be an inspiration, not just for the black community, but really for all of us. And I think it's important as we gather as a community, as a Grandview community, to be reminded of that. Now, you see, Dr. Moore, Martin Luther King can be an inspiration to us. And I think to us at Grandview for a couple of reasons. First of all, a year and a half ago, we had the privilege of having Ibu Patel on our campus, a great week of focusing on interfaith understanding, and I was really moved by Dr. Patel's use of and stories from Martin Luther King's life that was really kind of lifting up an interfaith understanding. Last fall, Grandview is affiliated with the Lutheran Church. Last fall, of course, we celebrated the 500th anniversary of Martin Luther beginning the Protestant Revolution, or Reformation. Martin Luther standing up to power and authority. It's my understanding that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was not born with that name. It was a choice. Is that right, Russ? His dad. His dad. It was his dad's choice. And there's a connection there. There's a connection there. Even though he was Baptist, he certainly was a product of his religion, which has its roots all the way back to the Reformation that we celebrated. So one of the reasons why I find Martin Luther King to be an inspiration and can be an inspiration for all of us, not just the black community, is because his vision, I believe, has roots that goes back to his understanding of the gospel, his religious beliefs. His vision was influenced by, remember, it's not Dr. Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. His understanding of the message of the gospel, it wasn't shaped by Republicans or Democrats. It wasn't shaped by the media of his day. His vision was shaped by his love of Jesus. And indeed, there was a quote on one of the things that came across my email this morning attributed to Dr. Martin Luther King. The quote is, "Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." And my good friend and our pastor, Russ, could go right to the scripture where Dr. Martin Luther King found inspiration for that quote. So that has helped shape my own thinking during these times that you refer to, division and anger. And it's my hope that Grandview, given our roots, that have some combination in our focus on our roots that go back to and through the Reformation to the Christian faith, is that Grandview can create an environment here based on the message, based on that message, inspired by Martin Luther King, and certainly that message that goes back to the gospel through the Reformation, through his own faith, inspired him, and hopefully it can inspire us. And so that's my hope. That's, if it's worth dreaming about, continuing to dream. Grandview can and should be, I think, guided by that notion. And we need to understand that hate cannot be turned around by more hate. Only love can do that. Yes, that means love needs to be in action, not just talk. You're right, Dr. Moore. It has to be love in action. So yes, we need to use this day and this week to be inspired. And we need to get involved. We need to do something and not just talk about it. But yes, we need to be guided by love that taught us and taught Dr. King as well. So I want to thank you again for your message and your inspiration. I want to thank the Diversity Alliance, the Viking Council. I want to thank the Viking volunteers for all of your work to organize not just this event, which gets us a half a point, but a whole series of events which might give us another 3/4 of a point along the way. But then hopefully we can find inspiration from that to score a whole lot more points in our lives ahead, being inspired by this day, by Dr. Moore's message, and by all of what we can do coming together as a community. Again, thank you all for your attendance today. Thank you in advance for the good work that you're going to do this work in service to your neighbor. Good afternoon.
Hello, my name is Asaid, and I am the president of Diversity Alliance. We will be having a reception outside with Dr. Eddie Moore, where he will be signing books, and you can visit with him. Thank you again for coming.